Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Hi!
Hello! We are back at it again. Feeling sad.
I don't know. I was right. There were moments in this episode where I was like clapping at the TV. I don't know why. There were moments. I thought it was okay, but it is also an absolute downer of an episode.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And there were things that we learned in this episode that, like, we as rewatchers have taken for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I forgot that before this moment we didn't know what heaven actually was like.
That's true.
Like, it was always alluded to, and like, obviously when we're talking about it, I always think of like Naomi's office and like the white hallways and all of that, but right now Supernatural hasn't actually established that that's what heaven looks like.
Yeah.
And now we get to see how they decided to do heaven.
Yeah, you're right, because we've seen hell briefly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this must have been a very big moment in the fandom to be like, oh my god, I wonder what it's going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
Also, can you imagine watching this like live, like the opening of this? Like, what?
It was April Fool's Day as well.
It was! You're right.
I wonder if they lined that up properly or not, if it was just like a coincidence.
I really hope so. I do. So this episode is episode 16 of season 5, Dark Side of the Moon, written by Andrew Dabb and Daniel Laughlin, and directed by Jeff Wono. I said
Wono.
His name's great. This is great.
Yeah, another new director this week. I didn't mind his directing style. They were kind of, I don't know if it was my internet that was being a bit weird, but I felt like there were some shots where it was like really, really soft on their faces, like it was almost out of focus.
Now, what's interesting was, like, with heaven, I'd be expecting the like orange lighting that we see, and I don't think that we really see that, but it was more vibrant than Supernatural.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can only tell that in the last shot when they come back, and it suddenly goes back to the like Supernatural blue-grey scale. Right,
yeah, that does make sense. I mean, I guess because we're in heaven for most of this episode. So you can't see the contrast until later.
Exactly. And also because it looks like late season Supernatural, it's hard to tell the difference.
Yep. Yes, you are right. That is 100% what it is. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. And there were moments in this episode as well that I was like, oh, it's now. This is the episode. This is the one that, like, everybody should know by this point, I have no clue what happens in Supernatural. I'm just going to lay it out there. Like, I'm a fan of the show, but like, I have no clue. Like, I remember some plot beats. Most of it's not up in his head. So like the search, like the ending of the search for God, for some reason I thought was in season 6. But like, it makes sense it would be in season 5.
Right. I know. Because they made a big, we'll get to it, but they made a big point in the recap of like the whole handover thing with Cass.
Yeah.
And then I remembered what the episode was about, and I was like, is that this end? Like, no, that's it's too soon.
Yeah, exactly. But then I also think back, this is episode 98. So we are almost a third of the way. Well, we're getting to a third of the way through.
We're doing it. That's what I can say.
So it makes sense that some of this stuff is happening now because like we know it has to happen. It's just, I guess, because you know it's not quite sinking that we're in season 5.
Yeah.
Even though we say it every week, it's just like, oh no, this is actually season 5.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we're getting to the end of the Crypt Keeper era. Like, it's wild that we've got this far, I guess, and things are happening. And, this show is happening.
Yeah.
Right? It's odd.
We're here for the ride at this point. Like, whatever happens, kind of happens.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to some later seasons because I have no idea what some of the things that happen in that. Like, I was just watching that while, like, eating biscuits and zoning out.
Yeah, just, like, literally just taking it in just to try and get to the next season so you're ready for when the new season comes out.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, no, it's wild, absolutely wild that we're here. Things are being established that kind of go on from here, like how heaven works, and like basically the idea of rebelling against heaven has always been there, but like I feel like after Dean remembering what heaven's actually like, it spurs him on more to like fix it.
Yeah, this was a weird one for me in this episode because as far as I remember, like from the beginning, as soon as they went to heaven, they were like against it. Like, heaven's terrible. We're all locked away in our own individual heavens and we can't be together. But like while they're there, they're really like, hey, it's kind of cool, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe there's a shift at some point where they decide that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm guessing they keep after this. They keep going to heaven somehow. This, I feel like it's something to do with Mary. It always is with Dean.
Yeah. Maybe Zachariah did just ruin it for them in this episode because, like, yeah, what he did was, like, seriously messed up.
Yes. Oh. You know, I couldn't watch it. As soon as that happened, I was like, I literally turned my head away. I could not. I don't even want to describe it when we get to it. Cause so... Is it bad that I find it worse than... in the beginning where Mary kisses her dad, even though it's yellow ice?
Yeah, no, and it's also not actually Mary, but like, I found it. it's the acting, like it's just so creepy.
Yeah,
it's this. I completely forgot about that scene. I had erased it from my mind,
and I'm gonna do the same thing.
Yeah, just delete. Yeah. Okay, I feel like we're talking a lot about the episode. I think we should like probably get into it or we're never going to get there.
I agree. I 100% agree. So we start off with the recap and it's basically a whole bunch of their deaths with Bobby saying, come on, how many times have you two died already? Which I thought was kind of great. So there's the Hellhounds, there's Sam being stabbed, like their first deaths. Presumably, Sam went... I'm guessing the first deaths for both of them, they both actually went to hell. We never figured out when Sam died in season 2 where he actually went. That has never been established. Anyway, and then there's a whole bunch of Dean dying in Mystery Spot. And then Sam getting struck by lightning from wishful thinking. And we both said, did he actually die? He actually died. It's confirmed in this that he actually died.
He did die.
And then we get the scene between Cass and Dean, and Cass asking, like you said, for that the amulet, because it will burn hot in God's presence. And then it does a flashback of Sam giving Dean the amulet at Christmas. And like that, their whole intense scene at the beginning of this season.
It's still so good. It's like, Dean, give it to me.
And then he did I still find it funny. He does it in this Dean does it in this episode too, but the way that he like hands over the necklace to to Cass. It's just not how anybody handles a necklace. Like, I still remember you talking about that, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's really weird.
Oh man. It's super weird.
Yeah, it's very, very bizarre. So then we cut to now, and we see a whole bunch of cans and stuff. The motel room's pretty dirty, and I thought we were gonna have like another like Dean ratio shot, but no. We just get his face.
Yeah.
And you see Dean putting his hand under the pillow, and we hear someone behind him say, "Are you looking for this?" And he has a shotgun aimed at Dean. And you're like, uh-oh. It's really, there's something really adorable about both of them, like being sleepy and like getting threatened by people. I don't know if it's like the disheveled hair, the like croaky voice. I don't know. It was just like, aww.
Well, you said, I think it was last episode, about Sam's getting to like peak Sam hair. It was real good in this episode.
Yes.
Like the sideburns were there, like the little flicky bit. I was like, that is some Sam hair.
It absolutely is. So Dean makes both of them. One of them's Roy, the other one is Walt. Mm-hmm. And they know that Sam started the apocalypse, which technically is true, but also not true. They both started the apocalypse. Yep. But whatever. Then Walt shoots Sam and tries to convince Roy to do the same for Dean. He says, like,
he made us, and we just snuffed his brother, you idiot. You want to spend the rest of your life knowing Dean Winchester's on your ass? Because I don't.
Which, yeah, I wouldn't want Dean Winchester to chase me down.
I knew what you were going to say. I saw those cogs turning. Yeah, no, you would have
like, how do I say this without it coming across the way that it would come across? Because the other option is, yes, actually, that is what I want. But but I don't want Dean coming after me to kill me. That's what I don't want. And then Walt goes ahead and shoots him, and then we get the title. It's a very smooth transition.
I did like Dean's threat to them as they were obviously going to shoot him, was just like, when I come back, I'm going to be pissed. It was so good.
Which he is. He is actually at the end of the episode. I do wonder if they come back to go hunt them down. Like, you would, surely.
I don't know. Like,
you don't know?
The thing is, they think they're dead. So, like, they got the element of... I don't know. I just can't see them hunting other hunters, but he did shoot Sam. I feel like Roy's in the clear.
Yeah, I mean, I guess them coming back is enough for them to, like, scare him off, right?
That's true.
Like, they may just go, like, threaten him or threaten them versus actually, like, killing them. I don't know.
Like, this kind of stuff, like them being shot and coming back to life. Like, can you imagine the, like, urban legend that, like, the Winchesters are in the hunter community? This is these two guys, right? And they just, like, don't die. It's like, who are they? I don't know, they're just some guys. I didn't clock that it was Knocking on Heaven's Door playing in the car when Dean comes to.
I knew the song had a, like, significance, but I couldn't remember what the song was. But yeah, it makes sense.
It's like on my playlist, like my Winchester playlist, and I like, didn't recognize it. But... So it's nighttime, and Dean wakes up in the Impala. We were having a discussion before the podcast as to whether or not the same thing happens when he dies at the end of the show. He does come to in the Impala, right? I think
it feels familiar.
I feel like he gets out of the car, and goes to sit next to Bobby.
I think so too. Yeah.
I refuse to go and check.
Yeah, I'm not going to go check either. If someone wants to tell us, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I've already gone back to watch that episode one time since it aired. I don't want to go see it again before I have to.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
But yeah, it feels right.
Mm-hmm. So he's there. He's got his like dad jacket on, which is surprising choice for this, but I guess it makes sense for the memory that he's in.
Yeah. There was something about the jacket. It felt massive on him, and I don't know if that's always the way it's looked, or if it was because of the time period that he was in. But that doesn't really make sense for the later scenes where they're like in their memory clothes and the clothes fit them. So I think it's just how the jacket actually sits on him, but it just felt like it looked bigger because we haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, I think that's something about like Jensen's acting while he's wearing the jacket, that it's very much like his dad's jacket. I don't know, there's something in the way he holds himself when he wears it. It's just a very special jacket to me. Still not found. I lost my campaign, but like one day I'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets out of the car and he's like, he heard a sound in the distance, like some thunder or something. And he sees like little Sam from the other episodes there. Mm-hmm. And he's like, come on, let's go. And he's really excited. Dean originally thinks it's a dream because like that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what's interesting in these memories is that like the other people like follow a script, don't they? Even though the other people like the people dreaming it or having that memory might go off script, they don't react at all. So Sam Ashley got his lighter and Dean pulls out a lighter and he's like, I haven't seen this in years. And oh, do you know what? I love this scene so much. I could watch this on repeat. Like,
yes. Yeah.
So they set off fireworks together. And Dean is like smiling, like a big smile, and he says, oh, I remember this is the 4th of July, like 1996, and like they kind of look at each other and they're like super happy, and Sam's like, Dad would never let us do anything like this, like thanks, this is great, and like Sam hugs him, and there's like a whole like montage of them like setting off fireworks, so they set off like the big box. I think what was so like poignant about this scene is that I don't think we've seen Dean smile like that this season, maybe in the show. Like it was so, he looked younger, like than he normally looks from the joy in his face.
And I'm gonna ruin that for you. It contrasts with Sam's version of heaven, where there's nobody else in it. Dean found joy in being with Sam in these memories, and then Sam's like, nah, I found joy of being on my own. I'm just like, looking back on it now, I'm like, oh god, this makes this scene so much sadder. Like it's such a happy moment, and then like Dean is smiling, he is so happy, and then it gets crushed in this by his brother. I'm just like, oh no.
It is actually like, yeah, the events that happen to them in heaven. Do you know what? It's almost, it feels like this was all contrived to push them further apart.
Yes.
Even more than they already are. And I didn't really notice that the first time I watched this, that them going to heaven, it almost feels like part of the plan. And it is, but it isn't. But like a plan from the angel's side.
Yeah. I mean, it's fuel for the fire that they want to start burning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once all the fireworks have gone, like Dean goes back to the car and he hears the radio come on and it's Cass. And I couldn't help thinking of I don't know why, this really reminds me of Baby when he rings him on the phone. Like it's the same kind of like, what's going on, man? There's something about Cass in this episode. I don't know if it's maybe the way like Andrew Dabb writes Cass, but like he's so much more snarky and like
he is.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, Cass is on the radio talking to him, and explains to him that it isn't a dream, and then says like, deep down you already know what's happened. And Dean has a flashback of them being shot. We see like a weird zoom out of like Dean just dead, like he can see his own body, which is like real weird. I don't know.
I'm dead.
Condolences. The snark. So Cass explains that he's in heaven, and that to travel through heaven he needs to find a road, which is not too difficult because he's in a car on the road at the moment.
Follow it, Dean. You'll find Sam. Follow road.
Which again is what happens at the end of Supernatural. Like, Dab, like, come on. Did you not?
He remembered this episode. He remembered writing this episode and was like, haha, I'm going to put him back on the road just to spite them.
I'll do a callback to the episode that I wrote. Screw everyone else. Yeah. So, yeah, Cass just sort of fades out like, follow the road. Follow the road. So, yeah, Dean does. Eventually, he finds like a nice house on the side of the road. So he gets out. He sees inside there's a family having like Thanksgiving dinner, and Sam is at the table next to a teenage girl, and clearly like Sam's supposed to be a teenager.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the scene any less weird, but he is supposed to be a teenager in this, although he is a full-size man. So Sam's enjoying dinner with this family, like a nice normal looking family, getting hit on by this girl who I guess he was crushing on at the time.
So when this first scene came up, I was like, why is he with like a Mormon family? Like, what's going on? Like,
it's the shirt that Sam's wearing, like the full button up, and like his hair is brushed to the side. Yeah, you're right. So Sam sees Dean walk in, and he's just like, wow, because he's seen him get I guess touched up by this girl that he sat next to, and obviously he's with a whole like family, and Sam thinks it's a dream as well, and Dean's like, it's not. So they move into the living room, and behind them you can see that the family is still interacting like he's still there, like having a conversation with him, like half of it. So Dean's explained that they're in heaven, and Sam's like, how? This is all that clean living, I guess, which is hilarious because we just saw their hotel room, like, Nope. Sam, I mean, it's kind of interesting to know that Sam is expecting to go to hell when he dies.
Which is fun. It's so funny because there's no real indication that he ever would, because he's the one who's had faith the entire time.
Yeah.
The entire time.
I always thought like he'd be like, oh, someone will save me the last minute, I'll get to go to heaven. But he's fully like, I know, we've done some stuff, like we should be in hell.
I've done a few things.
I like that he says, the last I checked, it wasn't the road to heaven that was paved with good intentions. And Dean's like, well, this doesn't feel like heaven. It says, if this is the sky ball, it sucks. Where's the triplets and the latex, A guy has needs.
It's like, okay, Dean, when did this kink start?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Okay. Again, it's the way your dad writes Dean, but fine.
Yeah, that's true.
So Sam sort of theorizes that it's their life flashing before their eyes. Like, they say that happens because this house is one of his memories. And Dean's like, oh yeah, I woke up as well, and it was one of my memories, like the 4th of July when we burned down that field. Which I guess we didn't see the whole thing that happened.
Nope. And
Sam's like, well, maybe it's where you relive your greatest hits. And Sam says, well, this is when I was 11. This was my first real Thanksgiving. Which, Dean tried hard to give him a good Thanksgiving, and this is his first real one. Sam, you terrible person.
I'm about to slap you up the face, Sam. Samuel. No.
Because Dean's like, we had Thanksgiving. It's you can hear it. It's like, I did it. Like, we had it together. And it wasn't really, like, good enough for Sam, which...
Yeah.
I don't know. So they hear a noise outside, and there's kind of, like, a searchlight, kind of like a helicopter searchlight. That's what it looks like coming in through the house. So they hide behind a sofa, which hilarious to me that apparently angels can't see through sofas, but like fine.
Yep.
Once it's gone away, Dean finds the radio in the house and starts like messing with it, and Sam's like, "What are you doing? Like, have you gone absolutely like cuckoo?" And he explains, I spoke to Cass through the radio before. Like, he kind of does something to it, but then the TV starts flickering. Kind of how Cass appeared to Jimmy, like that kind of static rolling through. I don't know why. I think it's so funny imagining them filming this, which is like getting like real up into Misha's face, like, speak into the camera.
At least he didn't have to be on set for us.
That's true, yeah. Hope he still got paid the full amount.
Yeah.
So we see like a flickering version of Cass, and it focuses on his like eyes and his mouth at different points. So they tell him about the weird beam of light, and Cass says like completely non-ironically like, "Don't go into the light." Which, love that. He explains that Zachariah's looking for them, because he wants to resurrect them. They can't say yes to Michael and Lucifer if they're dead, so he's going to return them to their bodies. And Sam's like, yes. And Cass is like, no, you're there, you're in heaven. This is an opportunity for you to go and find an angel named Joshua, who's I think they say here he's in the garden, and he can apparently speak to God, or does speak to God.
And so?
You think maybe, just maybe, we should find out what the hell God has been saying?
Because this whole season he's been searching for God. That's been his whole excuse for being away from the Winchesters.
Yeah.
And again, he's just like, follow the road. The road's called the Axis Mundi. I can't remember what that means. Is it just like middle path or something? Mundi is like middle.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember Latin here. So it can appear as lots of different things. For Dean, it was a road because he spends his whole life on the road. We sometimes see what it means for Sam as well, but Sam seems to be much more like nuanced, means different things. And it will eventually lead them to Joshua, and then the TV just turns off. So Sam's like, well, what do you think? What should we do? And Dean's like, well, we should do what Cass says. We should go find Joshua. And Sam's like, oh, like, why do you want to go find him? Like, this is a good line. The last I checked, you wanted to break God's nose. Now you think he can help? And Dean, you will one day get to punch God in the face, so it's all good.
I mean, come on, Sam, we are royally boned. So prayer, the last hope of a desperate man.
Like he wasn't praying like 2 episodes ago.
Yeah. And guess what? He was a desperate man at that point, so...
Oh, it's so sad.
It really is.
Still hate it. So they go outside, can't see, like where there was a road, there is now a forest. Not there. So they go and like look around the house. And Dean seems to have like caught on to the idea of this much quicker than Sam. I do wonder if it's because he's more used to the way reality works on different planes, like, being in hell.
Yeah.
Because he seems to be like, okay, it's not out there, must be in here somewhere. And he searches around and finds a cupboard under the stairs and finds an old like Scalextrics track. What?
Is it because he's died so many times? Like way more times than Sam has because of Mystery Spot. So he's had time to be in heaven, but he doesn't remember any of it.
But
sorry,
it's muscle
spoiler for the
memory.
episode, but yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. So Dean finds this car and he's like, oh, I used to have one of these when I was a kid. And like, as he picks it up, they get transported somewhere else. It's kind of cool. I like the way they do that. So they appear in another room which I instantly recognised as their house from the one where they go back to their house.
Is it called Home? I think it's called Home.
I think it's called Home. Yes, thank you. And Sam's dressed differently too. He's not wearing the shirt and tie anymore. He's dressed in his normal clothes. But Dean is dressed in a flannel, like he's got sneakers on and one of the shoelaces is undone, which is a real cute little detail. And of course he's wearing his teddy bear t-shirt that says "I love hugs." Which I don't know how old he's supposed to be. I think maybe like 2 or 3, but hilarious that Mary was dressing him in flannel at that age.
I mean, of course. Of course.
So yeah, they look around and they tell that it's in a child's room. I noticed there's like a painting on the wall of like a happy son with a little family underneath.
No, I didn't
Hate
notice
that,
that.
but love it at the same time. So Dean's like, I know where we are, like we're home. And they go out and you see them come into a doorway and there's Mary looking like Mary. And she's like, hey Dean, you hungry? It's yeah. Again, his face, like look, Sam, sorry. Dean's memories are better than yours. Which is also
they really are
sad, right, for Sam.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, we do get one really good happy memory for Sam, but again, in the context of like, if you're looking at it from Dean's perspective, which is what this episode is, like it's absolutely horrendous for Dean, but like really good for Sam. Because he, like, you see Sam smile in that particular memory too. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So Dean is sitting at the kitchen and like Sam is sort of stood off to the side. I just have to say the dress that Mary is wearing is absolutely adorable, and I wish I had that dress.
It's nice, yeah.
I would never wear it, but I wish I had it. So yeah, Dean is sat at the table and Mary pours him a glass of milk and like asks if he wants the cuss cut off, and he's like, yeah, I'd love that. Sam tries to interact with her and Dean's like looks kind of apologetic. It's like, I guess, you know, it's not your memory. I mean, as much as we were just having sympathy for Dean, I kind of don't like the fact that he's like telling Sam to wait so that Dean can relive these memories, and like when it comes to Sam's memories, they have to leave immediately because Dean doesn't like it. Yeah,
you're right. I feel like them being in each other's memories makes both of them like equally uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like for Sam, it reminds Sam of like what Dean's lost, but like also what he lost. Like he never got this. Like at least like Dean did get some motherly love. Like Sam never really got that. Whereas like Dean's reminded how much Sam's like constantly trying to like get away from them.
Yeah, exactly.
But Dean is a bit out of line here to say like, no, fine, like wait. I don't know though. I get it though. It's because he's just looking at Mary with such like childlike wonder. Yeah,
exactly. I wonder if also, because he remembers this, I'm wondering if he wanted Sam to see what John was like. Really?
Well,
because of what happens next. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, I was thinking about this actually because, yeah, Dean's happiest memory of his mother is when John wasn't there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And it is like in the previous memory, it was Dad would never let us do this. So it's moments where he gets to be with his family without John being present.
Yeah.
So Mary goes over, like the phone rings, so Mary goes over to answer it, and it's clear that they're having an argument of some kind. So I'm guessing I'm guessing Sam was actually born at this point, so maybe Dean is actually 4 because she says you've got 2 boys at home.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So she looks great, like within 6 months of having a baby.
Yeah.
Like, good on you. So Dean says, I remember this. Mum and Dad were fighting, and he moved out for a couple days.
Dad always said they had the perfect marriage. It wasn't perfect until after she died.
Sam then asks, what happens next? And Dean gets up out of the chair and goes to hug Mary and says, it's okay. Dad still loves you. I love you. I'll never leave you. And like, Sam sort of shakes his head, like a bit disgusted and a bit sad. And he says, I never realized how long you've been cleaning up Dad's messes. And he's like, okay, whatever. Let's just keep moving. And then Sam finds like a postcard that says Route 66 on it. And we are then transported to a new location.
Yeah, I realised while watching this again, actually, like, although we were complaining about Dean making Sam wait, he was waiting because he knew that he was going to get to hug Mary.
Oh, God, yeah.
So he was wanted to wait for that moment, because as soon as that had happened and he'd spoken to her, he was like, okay, we can go. Yeah. Ugh. Why have they got to do this to us? It's,
So, the 2 times that they move on from Dean's memory is because he's gotten a hug.
Oh, it is as well. Yeah, he hugs Sam and he hugs Mary.
Yeah.
Cruel.
Absolutely. Ugh. I mean, it's summertime, so it's a cruel summer. So it pans out and we see like this whole wall covered in different postcards all along Route 66, which is a huge road that runs from the east coast to the west coast. And Dean doesn't know where they are, but Sam's like, no way. And a dog comes out of nowhere and he's like, Bones, come here. And he's like loving up on the dog. And Sam's like, yeah, Bones was my dog. Like, he's so excited to be there. Like, he's opening the pizza boxes and just like sort of reliving a happy memory. And Dean's like, this is Flagstaff. Dean's questioning, like, this was a good memory for you. He's like, yeah, it's the first time I was on my own for 2 weeks. I lived on Funyuns and Mr. Pibb. And Dean's unimpressed. And he's like, well, you don't remember, do you? Like, you ran away on my watch. I looked everywhere for you. I thought you were dead. And when Dad came home, like, the implication of that is that maybe John used some sort of discipline, right?
Yeah.
In terms of abuse.
That's what I mean, because it's so unsaid. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Which I don't think we've ever had that sort of direct implication before. We've seen John berate Dean, but we've never seen him physically. I mean, berating a child is, as abusive as physical, but like we never get that kind of implication until now.
With John, though, it doesn't even need to be that. Like, it can be throwing him into like reckless situations, hunting. Like, we know that he used to use Dean as bait, so true. You can imagine the guilt trip. Like, oh well, you can be useful for once because you lost your brother. All this kind of it's emotional abuse.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we know it's there.
Yeah, we do.
the reason why he's always looking out for Sam. Sam tries to apologize. He's like, well, I'm sorry, I never thought of it like that. It's not said how old they are for this. I'm wondering if maybe he's like early teens.
I feel like they said when they mentioned Flagstaff before, it was before Sam went to Stanford, so yeah, they would have been teenagers.
And, it would be happy for Sam because it was not a happy household to be in. So I think it's fair for Sam not to think of it in a way that was detrimental to Dean. Because you're a child, especially a teenager, you think about you first. You think you know everything. And you're like, you don't think about other people's perspective. So I think Dean doesn't give him that space to actually reflect, have some self-reflection and be like, okay, yeah, I can see how this would have affected you. Like, instead, Dean's just like, no, you're an asshole.
And also because of Dean's many abandonment issues, Sam wasn't running away from John, he was running away from him, right? That's how Dean frames it.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, he's having this great time after he abandoned Dean. Like, it's, yeah. The real question of this scene is Sam a Trekkie then? Because he named his dog Bones. I'm going to say yes. I choose to believe that dog is named after Dr. Leonard McCoy. And that Sam is a Trekkie. So, yeah.
And not just because it's a dog who likes bones.
No. That is a Star
possibly
Trek reference.
Yeah, I agree. So we're then outside and we find we're in the middle of like a road. And it's like they're outside this sort of run-down barn-looking house. And again, Dean doesn't know this memory. Sam lies and says no, he has no idea either. And he's like, he kind of tries to distract him. He's like, oh, look, it's a road. Let's go. But I guess this is more of a shared memory because eventually Dean does remember. And he's like, this is when you ditched us for Stanford.
This is your idea of heaven? Wow. This is like one of the worst nights of my life.
And Sam is trying to explain to Dean that it's not him, like saying, I was on my own. I finally got away from Dad. And Dean turns around and says, yeah, he wasn't the only one you got away from. But the thing is, he knows that had he reported to Dean, it would have gotten back to John.
Right, yeah.
At that time.
It. I know. There's no winning this for Sam. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sam tries to apologize and it's like, yeah, I know, you didn't think of it like that. And they start to argue, your heaven is somebody else's Thanksgiving. It's bailing on your family. What do you want me to say? And Sam's like, well, I never got the crust cut off my PB&J. I don't look at family the same way that you do. And I think that's fair. Like, I think that's so fair to say.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to have a different perspective on things. It doesn't mean he loves you any less, Dean.
Again, this is the abandonment issue. Like,
I know. Yeah.
Because, Sam is so right, and he knows Dean so well, because he knows for Dean that family is everything. And if a member of his family doesn't also feel that family is everything, then they must just want to abandon Dean, just leave him at the drop of a hat. Like, he has such issues surrounding that whole aspect of his life. It's like his whole personality is family, right? The way he protects Sam, the way he defers to John. So for someone else to not feel like he doesn't, I don't think Dean understands it.
Yeah, I think so too.
And we've made that comment before when he gets so mad about monsters killing a family member, or he gets so much more angry about it than I guess a normal murder.
Yeah. No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I know. We're supposed to be a team. It's supposed to be you and me against the world, right, Dean? It is.
And it's like, yes, it still is. There's nothing has been shown or said that says that Sam is abandoning him in any way. But like you said, or like I was kind of alluding to as well, this could have all been a ploy from the beginning.
And I think it's this scene that makes me think it is, because so far their memories have gone Dean, Sam, and then they're immediately taken from Sam's memory where Dean is pissed to another Sam memory where it's the worst night of Dean's life. And one that probably isn't the happiest for Sam, right?
Yeah, no. It was probably a good moment, but it wasn't I'm sure it was devastating for Sam too, to leave his brother, and he wanted to get away from John, but probably not away from Dean.
And I do think the memories that were chosen here were just put there for them to be like manipulative. Because again, like Sam could have been put in a memory with Jessica, or we could have seen him
in college.
Yeah, getting accepted to Stanford. Like that would have been one that wouldn't need any other people in it either. But yeah, I fully believe they're being manipulated here.
Yeah, definitely. And before Sam can give an answer, I mean, his face kind of gives an answer. The searchlight is back, and they run off into the forest. We're then in the forest at night. As much as I hate Zachariah, him walking around being like, all that was missing was like a slow clap.
No, right.
Right? Just being like, wow. Running from angels. It's like, can you imagine?
So good.
So yeah, he says, wow, running from angels on foot in heaven.
With out of the box thinking like that, I'm surprised you boys haven't stopped the apocalypse already.
Just like, oh, you slime ball. But it's just, oh, it's so good. It's so good. He then snaps his fingers and it's daytime. He, like, Zachariah starts monologuing, you know, he's saying, I just want to send you back to Earth, that's all. I mean, I'm going to tear you a new cosmos of new ones, but you're here now, and by the time I let you go, you're going to be begging to say yes. They run off, and he's like, come on, guys, you can run, but you can't run, because he pops up in front of them. And then as they run away again, like a masked man shows up with like a cape, and he tells them to be quiet and like directs them to a door and writes a symbol on the door. It opens, and we come into the roadhouse, which I completely forgot that this was what the roadhouse looked like. I was quite ashamed to say that, but yeah. And he takes the person takes the mask and cape off. And it's Ash. I was so surprised. I was so happy that it was Ash, because he's like amazing. Yeah. And he's like, welcome to my blue heaven. And they are in the roadhouse.
Yeah. The appearance of the roadhouse did make me sad that we didn't get a roadhouse at the end of Supernatural. I feel like seeing it in this episode actually like bummed me out quite a lot.
I tried not to think about it.
Because it makes so much sense.
But yeah.
Like in the real world, it had been like a central point for hunters, and then now in heaven, it's like a sort of almost like a train station to get to other places. Like Howl's Moving Castle, right? You do the door thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a shame. I guess we didn't get to see it again, but never mind.
I don't think Ash is a plant. I think Ash is actually there being Ash, just causing, like, if there's any team free will, he is on it for sure.
I agree. Yeah, Ash is just doing his own Ash thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one thing I did notice in HD, that mullet is looking real fake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why does the back look like that? It's so bad. It's just like straight wig hair. Like, yeah, it was bad.
So clearly they've never been able to do wigs.
No, exactly. So yeah, they can't believe they're in the roadhouse. Like Dean's like, good God, the roadhouse even smells the same. And Ash says, yeah, bud, blood, and beer nuts. It's the best smell in the world. And he offers them a beer. He says, like, no hangover up here. So they sit down, and Sam's like, so. And Ash's like, how did I end up in heaven? He says, I've been saved. I was my congregation's #1 snake handler. So Ash is like a born-again Christian, which I don't know why that's so funny to me. But so they go into this whole like spiel that's actually quite confusing, but he explains to them that everyone has their own separate heavens. So that's why they won't immediately be found, because they've like kind of like jumped ship to another one. He says, you've got You've got to stop thinking of heaven as one place. It's more like a buttload of places all crammed together, like Disneyland, except without all the anti-Semitism. Which, great line. So he explains that we're in Winchester Land and he's in Ashland, and then they're trying to get to the Magic Kingdom, which is the garden. Mm-hmm. So Dean says that everyone has their own heaven, and Ash is like, well, some people are special, like soulmates get to share a heaven, which is, so I guess it's implied, because Sam and Dean have just come from the same heaven, that they are in some way soulmates. Mm-hmm. They point. I mean,
they give each other like a weird look, because it's like, wait, we're soulmates.
Which, yeah, I guess you could be. It's because they're just like meant to be together, right? Mm-hmm. Which, like, narratively, like them meant to be together makes sense because it's all part of God's plan, right? So they are actually meant to be together, like hunting together and existing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So is it, said most people can't leave their own private heavens either. But he's been about. He went to go see Johnny Cash, Andre the Giant, Einstein. He's like geeking out with Sam about Einstein, the guy who wrote the Kama Sutra.
All this from a guy who used to sleep on a pool table.
Yeah, now that I'm dead, I'm living, man. Whole lot more.
Which is kind of cool. He's got this like laptop, and he calls it like a holy rolling police scanner. And it basically tunes into angel radio. Like, you can see all the wave patterns of the different angels speaking. Mm-hmm. And they're speaking Enochian, but of course he is fluent. Remember that time moves differently in heaven. So, like, who knows how long Ash has been there? It could be, like, thousands and thousands of years for him. Or
that's very true.
Right, yeah. So he said, like, of course I had to come find you again once I knew you were here. And they were like, again? And I'm guessing the reason of the montage at the beginning is showing all the times they've died, suggesting that other than the times we know they went to hell, they possibly went to heaven.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that it would make sense that basically the angels are picking up their souls somehow so that they can send them back. So, like, because they really want the apocalypse to happen. So it makes sense that they would keep putting them back. So they need to funnel them in so they can push.
It's funny because like none of the angels know that like Gabriel exists, but like how pissed were they on that like day that like Dean kept dying, and they're like, again?
What the hell is going on again? Who's the guy who mans Heaven's Gates? Like, I guess it's John. Is it John?
St. Peter?
Oh, St. Peter, that's right. He's gonna be like, God damn it, Dean's here again.
They're on like first name basis. Got a special handshake.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, see you around.
So Ash explains that this isn't their first time here. He says, you boys died more than anyone I've ever met. But of course they don't remember. He says the angels must have Windexed your brain, which is quite interesting foreshadowing for something that we don't know is going to happen. That the fact that they can do that.
True. Yeah.
Because of course we know later on about them constantly wiping Cass every time he goes back to heaven or like rebels in some way. The fact that they're doing that to Sam and Dean as well is, yeah. So Sam explains that Ellen and Joe have died, and Ash is actually like real shaken by that. And explains like what happened, and he says, well, did they go down fighting? And Sam's like, yeah, till the end. It must worry Ash that he doesn't know that they're there, like maybe they're not in heaven.
Yeah, I can see that.
And Ash explains also that he's been looking all over for John Winchester and Mary, but he hasn't been able to find them, which makes sense because John got out of hell, but there was no guarantee that he went to heaven after that.
Yeah, I also feel like it's somewhere down the line in another season, I feel like we find out that they were like basically locked in a certain part of heaven that would have been really difficult to get to. Like, I feel like that's sort of tingling in my memory somewhere. Like,
I agree with you. I think that happens, yeah.
And I'm guessing it's used as a way to make it so they don't have to keep bringing back like Sam Smith and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Like, so I think that's probably what it is.
Sorry, they're in the actors have other jobs part of heaven.
Exactly.
So Ash remembers that there's someone who wants to talk to them, and he opens another room, and Pamela Barnes enters. Her eyes are back too.
Yay.
And she says, "Nice to see you boys again." So there's an ad break, but they're still about. It's like they sort of moved around a bit. And Sam and Ash are like nerding out, and Ash is explaining how he gets around. It's to do with like maths, like string theory, and he's applying it practically. And Sam's like, "Ooh." Imagine that maths and magic isn't so far apart in the supernatural universe as well, which
yeah, no, I can't imagine.
Sam probably has a good intuition for it. Dean and Pamela are chatting, and she's kind of like taps him on the head. It's like, "That's for getting me killed."
Probably less than I deserve. Makes you feel any better? We got Ash killed too.
I'm cool with it.
He's cool with it.
I don't know why I love that.
I love the fact he's like, "I'm cool with it."
He's like, he's cool. And Pamela says like she's fine now, you know. She said, "Do you remember when I was dying, like you told me I was going someplace better?" And Dean's like, "You know, I was lying." But she's like, no, you were right. Like, it's awesome here. And she's saying how great she's finding it. But what I said before about Dean being like completely positive about this is the only bit that we kind of get that he's like, "I don't like how this is run," because he says, "Spending eternity trapped in your own little universe with the angels running the show, that's lonely, you know. That's not Nirvana, that's the Matrix." Because I guess in his mind, he'd still be locked away from his family in heaven because they'd all be in their own little... They're not really them in his version.
Yeah. Like, I guess because for him, being with like family would be what everybody's heaven should be like. Like, he shouldn't have to be away from the people that you love. So it's back to the abandonment issues. and
that is exactly what he gets at the end of the show too. So I'm kind of not mad about that, I suppose.
But we don't really get it though. We get like, you have to put it together for yourself, because all it really Dean drives around for maybe like 50 years. I mean, it doesn't look like that, but he drives around by himself for 50 years for Sam to show up.
Oh, you're right. It's awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. He is by himself for a long time.
Yep.
For longer than he was alive.
I'm just saying 50 years because I'm guessing Sam was probably about 80
Yeah,
years
I'm going to go with that. I think that's true. So, you know, Pamela's like, "Well, you know, it's not perfect, but the attic's still better than the basement," which, yeah.
Yep.
And Dean's like, "Yeah, you know, but it real is down there, like he wants to get back to Earth." Pamela's kind of like overly positive about it, and Dean seems a little bit suspicious. He's like, "You know, what's with the pitch?" And Pamela says like, "Well, you know that Michael wants to take you for a test drive." She goes, "Well, maybe you should, you know, play ball." So yes. You know, Dean says, "Well, a lot of people will die." And she's like, "Well, yeah, but they'll not come here. Like, is it really so bad? Like, maybe you don't have to fight so hard. That's all I'm trying to say." And we don't find out what Dean's going to say back because Sam and Ash have finished what they're doing because they found a way to the garden. I think your idea that Pamela is a plant is not far off, actually.
Yeah. Because if you remember how she reacted to Anna when she found out she was an angel, she was just like, "Hell no, I don't want anything to do with this. Leave me alone." And like, now she's in heaven. She's like, "Oh yeah, I love angels. You should let the worst one just take over your body."
Yeah.
Like, who is this Pamela? Like, this is the one who like wanted to get a glimpse. Like, she should still be angry at Cass. Like, she was angry at Cass because he burnt her eyes out.
Yeah.
Like, she still had that resentment all the way to the end.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way, even if heaven is all it's cracked up to be, that she would let that go.
I don't...
She is one of on their team. She is Team Free Will all the way. She's not going to be... Yeah, she's not going to be on board with that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think she's a plant, along with everything else in this. I agree Ash is himself, but Pamela... The fact that she had asked to talk to them, because he's like, oh, someone wants to talk to you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's Pamela, like, why?
Yeah.
Why Pamela?
Right.
Out of everybody? Okay.
They treat her like this in, like, the one that got away for Dean, but I, like, never saw it.
I always thought she was into
I
Sam.
thought she was into Sam. Okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one, like, watching that show, because, yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty sure it was, like, her hitting on Sam for the longest and being like, well, I suppose, Dean, you can join in if you really want. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, no, me, you, and...
No, it wasn't, no. I just feel like sometimes they get to a point in the show and, like, oh, we haven't had Dean, like, kiss anyone in a while. Like, let's bring back, a female character they once knew. Like Captain Kirk syndrome.
But he literally just kissed Joe.
Yeah, I know. They just kissing all the people in this season, don't they? The whole thing. Kissing people that he got killed. That's the whole... Oh, Dean.
Yeah. No, Dean.
So, yeah. So, Ash draws them the symbol on the thing, and he's like, this is it. You can go through. Ash says that Zachariah's going to be watching every road to the garden. So, yeah. Basically, be careful. Sam hugs Pamela, and she says to him, "Watch your ass," which is a callback to the time she complimented his ass. Like, this is how deep we're getting in Supernatural today. And then she goes to Dean and, like, gives him, like, a real long kiss. It's quite a long kiss.
It is. It's...
Yep. And she says, "Yep, just how I imagined," and then, like, pats his cheek and sends him on his way. Okay.
Sorry. So we know that angels can, like, change their appearance, right? This isn't Pamela at all. This is Zachariah.
No! That... Do you know why I can see it, though? He's such a manipulative, like, dick. But yeah, he would do this. He would do this. Oh.
No, it's Pamela. I'm just gonna...
She's just trying to convince him that, like, heaven's real good. Like, so yes to Michael.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can smooch on me all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Gentlemen, I don't mean to be a downer or anything, but I'm sure I'll see you again soon.
I'll have more to say on it when we get to that season, but when Dean's, like, trapped in his own head with, like, Michael, and there's a bar there and he's with Pamela, I think there's something to be, like, there's something there. Like, I can't think at the moment. I can't connect those dots in my head. But the fact that the first time he visited heaven, like, Pamela's there. And then when he finally says yes to Michael, Pamela's there. I need to think on it.
Do you think she was, like, some way weirdly touched by an angel when, like, Cass did something when he, like, burned her eyes out? Like, something happened to her. It's like something happened to her soul.
Like, possibly, or, like, I don't know, Dean sort of so closely links her to, like, the time in his life, maybe, that he was thinking about saying yes to Michael, that when he finally did, like,
yeah, she
entered his subconscious. I don't know.
Could be, yeah.
There's something, but I can't think what it is at the moment.
something connection, something.
Yeah, send me your Pamela connection ideas. My brain's not on today. So they go through the door, and it's again their house, and it's the lighting is, like, green, like, it's, like, spooky, but, like, goosebumps spooky.
Yeah. A weird choice.
So they're like, well, why are we here? And like, let's keep looking for the road, I guess. But then Mary is there and she's in the nightgown that she died in. And Dean's like, look, I'm sorry, I love you, but you're not real and we don't have time. And she's sort of stuck in this script of like, did you have a nightmare? Tell me. And then Dean's like, no, I gotta go. And she's like, because I'll tell you about my nightmare, Dean, the night I burned. And then she like starts bleeding from her stomach, like as she did when she died. Mm-hmm. And Dean is not having it. And he's like, Sammy, let's go. Like, please, can we go? And then she says, don't walk away from me. And then Dean like stops in his tracks and she says,
I never loved you. You were my burden. I was shackled to you. Look what it got me.
And then she like blinks and her eyes turn yellow. I hate this because it's everything that he thinks Sam is gonna say to him one day.
Yeah.
But Mary's saying it. It's horrible. I hate this scene.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know this is gonna affect Dean like so much more than Sam. But the thing is, it's not a memory. It's not anything. Mm-hmm. It's literally just a fabrication. Yeah. But, you know, Dean's not going to see it that way. It's not going to be able to separate it. It was Mary. So the trauma is always going to be present.
Yeah.
So Dean is like frozen in place and like can't really express how he's feeling. Mary then goes on to describe like how, you know, the pain was bad but the smell was worse, and like talking about how she thought it was like a pot roast burning but it was my meat, which is gross. Yeah. I don't ever say that again. So they try to like leave, but the door is now bricked over. We've kind of seen this before in the green room. Oh, is this why it's green?
Oh, yeah.
Because Zachariah's going to show up.
It's a different green room. That's really clever. Also stupid.
So she then goes on to, you know, dig the knife in deeper. Because she says, you know, I was finally dead. The one silver lining is that I finally got away from you. Everybody leaves you, Dean. You notice that? Mommy, Daddy, even Sam.
Ever ask yourself why? Maybe it's not them. Maybe it's you.
I feel like so many people say this to Dean over the years, like this exact like speech.
We should start a counter.
Yeah. Like, you think at some point though he'd be like, oh, they're just trying to get to me. Sam's still here.
Yeah, but it works every time.
Work every time.
Yeah. And then the worst scene of this entire episode, Zachariah shows up and he's like, easy now, kid. And Zachariah says, you know, yeah, I did this and I'm just getting started. He's like, you really think you could get past me to get to mission control? And then two angels show up and like grab them behind, like grab Sam and Dean. So Zachariah is hitting on Mary, well, not even hitting on Mary, but just like
creeping.
Says like, just creeping. Yeah, I don't really want to go into this because it's so gross.
My favorite line is like basically him saying that like he's a big time angel, and he says, in heaven I have 6 wings and 4 faces, one of whom is a lion. And it's the way he says lion. I found it really good. He does the like hands. I'm a lion.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. He attacks like Sam, attacks Dean, and says, I used to have respect. Then I was assigned you two, and now look at me. I can't close it. It's funny how he says they can't close a deal, because we don't really see heaven and angels in terms of deals. That's more demon stuff, which is kind of interesting. Everybody's laughing at him, and, you know, so you're going to say yes because it's now personal. And, you know, the last person in creation you want as your enemy is me.
And I'll tell you why. Lucifer may be strong, but I'm petty.
Which I can see for sure. And he says, I'm going to be the angel on your shoulder for the rest of eternity. And before he can get any further in his tirade, we hear this voice that says, excuse me, sir. And it's like this gentle old black man. And he says, I need to speak to those two. And Zachariah's like being very, I want to see the manager about it all. And Joshua kind of goes on to explain, says, no, you're right. But the boss does, like, his orders, implying that God is the one that, you know, who wants to speak to them through him. And Zachariah accuses him of lying.
Wouldn't lie about this. Look, fire me if you want. Sooner or later, he's going to come back home. And you know how he is with that whole wrath thing.
Zachariah looks at Sam and Dean and then, like, backs down and goes off. They move towards Joshua, who they don't know is Joshua right now, but we know is Joshua. And he guides them to the botanical garden. They put a lot of money into this episode because there are a lot of different locations. But at the same time, I wonder how many of them are, like, shot in one direction, then they turn a little bit, shot in another direction, turn a little bit, shot in another direction.
Definitely, yeah. I feel like the house where the family had Thanksgiving was definitely the same set as their house, like their house in Lawrence. Just slightly painted.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So Sam clocks that this is Heaven's Garden, and Dean's like, it's nice-ish, I guess. And Joshua explains it, you know, you see what you want to see. For some, it's God's throne. For others, it's Eden. You two, it's the Cleveland Botanical Gardens. You came here on a field trip. Both of them did, or Sam did? Whose center of heaven is this?
I think Sam, but, like, it could be both, and they could have both gone into school, I guess, in time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess so. If I'm thinking of Sam and Dean, when you hear a garden, they don't really know a garden.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they would pick it's not a manufactured garden, but it kind of is a manufactured garden.
I think it's just supposed to be, like, a bit sad for them, like the fact that they can't imagine anything other than, like, the botanical gardens in Cleveland. I think that's the, like, they can't it's so far outside their worldview that this is the closest they can get to the Garden of Eden. And, like, Dean thinks it's okay.
Yeah. So again, Sam being a smart little boy, he connects the dots and that says, you know, you're Joshua. And he says, I'm Joshua. And that he mostly gets talked at by God. And they need to speak to him. And they ask where he is. And he says, on earth. But Joshua doesn't know, like, where or what he's doing. And, like, he says he talks to me because sometimes I can sympathize gardener to gardener, and between us, I think he gets lonely, which we know that is actually 100% true. That character trait actually continues through. The gardener reference, not so much. I think Chuck has long forgotten how to be a gardener.
Yeah, but he's also, like, it is almost like the manipulation, like trying to get them to move in a certain direction for his plot. I feel like Joshua is just like almost like a therapist to him, like someone to complain at, like the only person left that he, like, moans to, you know?
And I feel like, so again, the reason why I say he dropped the gardening aspect is because we get the same kind of character in Metatron.
Yes.
And Metatron is a reader and a writer, which is what Chuck is trying to be. So he's like, I was a gardener and I Joshua can be my like gardener friend. Well, I don't want to be a gardener anymore. I want to be a writer. So I'll go to Metatron because he's a writer and a reader.
I feel that's completely true. Yeah, that's it. 100%. That's a good.
Yeah. Because, you know, God doesn't have any friends because he thinks he's better than everybody else. So he uses people and then drops them when he's done with them. Like, I'm pretty sure he never spoke to Joshua again after this.
No, probably not. And also, like, of course, he's complaining to his like employees because they are like paid in inverted like commas to listen to him.
Right, exactly. Dean has no sympathy. He's like, well, heartbreaking for him. And Sam's, before, you know, Dean can insult another angel, he interrupts and says, can you get at least a message, get him a message for us? And Joshua tells him that actually he has a message for you. Back off.
He knows that the apocalypse has begun. He just doesn't think it's his problem.
Yeah.
And Dean is just like so stunned, like not his problem. I get from this that like Joshua is maybe on Heaven's side a little bit. Like he's trying to be neutral, but he's really not.
Yeah, like he's trying to come across as sympathetic, but also they're beneath him still. You know, he's just relaying the message because he has to.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because he says God has already saved you. He put you on that plane, brought Cass back, granted you salvation in heaven. Turns to Sam directly, and after everything you've done, which Dean was just as guilty. Mm-hmm. Come on.
I agree.
Yeah. It's more than he's intervened in a long time. He's finished. Magic, amulet or not, you won't be able to find him. And Dean's like, well, you know, he could stop it. He could stop all of it. And Joshua agrees, so he could, but he won't. We come back to like, well, why is there evil in the world if God doesn't want there to be evil, blah, 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 circular logic. Yeah. And he literally tells him, you know, you drive yourself nuts asking questions like that. And Dean says, so he's just going to sit back and watch the world burn. And Joshua's like, yeah, I know it's important to you, but not to him.
Just another deadbeat dad with a bunch of excuses, right? Oh, I'm used to that. I'll muddle through.
The like apology, like John apologist Dean is completely disappeared. Like over the years, gone. He looks back and go, no, my dad was a dick. Like he really is. Like there's no rose-tinted glasses anymore. Like you know now the contempt he has for John, which is so interesting. Like that's sort of it's grown over the years more so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean it started when John told him to kill his brother.
Definitely.
So, of course, he's like, you have to kill your brother now. I'm going to die and I'm not going to have any answers for you anymore because I'm going to be completely unavailable. It's like,
yeah, and the time that I could have told you some things that were going on, I instead chose to spend my last moments to tell you to kill your brother, but, you know, it's fine.
Exactly.
God, dick.
Yeah, the Winchester's not saving nobody. And Joshua like points out that like, except you don't have it, like you don't know if you can this time. You can't kill the devil. You're losing faith in yourself, your brother, and now this. Like, Joshua, you're not helping. Just shush. God was your last hope. I just wish there was something else I could tell you. And, you know, of course, he gets accused of being a liar again. Mm-hmm. And Sam's like, well, you know, you're not exactly the first angel we've met. And Josh is like, oh, well, I was rooting for you, you know. I wish I could do more to help you, but I just trim hedges. It's not my job to care. Like, it's basically what he's saying. And, you know, Joshua's going to send them back, but this time they'll remember. And then there's a whooshing sound and a light that blinds them.
So, like, thinking back on this now, like, when I watched it, I thought Joshua was telling the truth and that was a message from God. Now we're talking about it and, like, the fact that I think Pamela was a plan and all this was set up to, like, tear them further apart. Do you think Joshua was lying? Because I'm starting to think he may have been. But it also sounds like Chuck's voice. So
I wonder if the higher ups above Zachariah, like it's Michael talking to Joshua, and Joshua just can't tell the difference.
Maybe. I mean,
so he's not lying per se, but he was manipulated into telling them this.
I mean, ultimately, it actually doesn't matter if he's lying or not. The outcome is the same.
Yeah. But at the same time, the fact that he points out that, like, you can't kill the devil, you're losing faith in yourself and your
That's the bit.
You don't need to say these things.
That's the bit that was like, this is all a ploy, right? Because he's pointing out all the things that they don't want to think about, and that it's needling away at Dean. And this whole episode has been trying to drive a wedge between them even further, and trying to bring down Dean's faith and break him. And then at the end, you're saying, well, God's not there for you either. And, you know, it's bad because you're already in a really dark place, Dean, for you to get this news.
Right.
it's almost
like
I'm sorry.
He doesn't need this fuel.
No.
He's already on the edge.
So, yeah, I mean, I think Joshua was lying.
Yeah.
Or at least had a motive. Like, because, you know, did God word it that way? I don't know. But I don't think he's talking. I don't think he's talking to anybody. I actually don't think he's talking to anybody. No.
No, I don't think so. No, I think he's on heaven's side, and he hates humanity as much as the rest of the angels. He's tired of being in the center of heaven, trimming these bushes. Like, he doesn't care anymore. He's like, he just wants it to end.
I mean, yeah. Okay, I fully convinced myself that he was lying and that God never spoke to them in this episode. I don't. And just like it was the angels that took Dean. Sorry. It was the angels that took Cass out of purgatory. I think it was the angels that put them on the plane and brought Cass back. And then they all got memory wiped. It's fully within their power. Naomi brings Cass back from purgatory.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree with you, actually. Because I was just going to say, like, his body exploded in season 4, but so did it did for going into purgatory. So they have the ability to. Yeah, no, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm calling absent God. He's not here. He's not in this season. Like, it's just Chuck, just chucking around. Okay. Sorry, I get like, yeah, I figured it out, man. Okay, so the last scene of this episode, we get the same pan of beer cans and stuff that we got at the very beginning, and we see Sam and Dean, like, they're dead. And then suddenly they go, like, Sam's real good at it. Like, it's really like, it's great.
Where is that acting when you lost your lungs in season 4 or at the beginning of season 5?
I forgot about how bad that was. So yeah, Dean's back too, and Sam's like, "You all right?" And Dean's like, "Define all right." And like he gets up, and you can see that he's like got the exit wounds as well from the gunshots. Those shirts are ruined. Ruined.
Yeah. How do you even explain that away to motel staff? Like, there's like 2 bloody beds, but no dead bodies.
Fine, aliases. That's what aliases are for. They'll be gone soon.
Yeah, that's true.
So then,
or maybe Cass like cleans it up.
Oh,
somehow.
maybe like mojos it away. Like, okay, this time,
yeah,
my grace is failing, but this time I'll make your bed for you. So we see Cass, and he is looking like despondent. He's just like sad face.
God's sake.
And like Dean is kind of watching him while they're like packing up their stuff, like kind of looking at him. And I realized while I was watching this, it's like through this whole scene, Dean knows exactly what Cass is feeling, because this is he had the same realization with John before this whole realization with God. He's also got like an absent father, which he said in the last scene. And now he's having to see Cass come to terms with the person he looked up to is also like a deadbeat dad.
Yep.
This is what they're bonding over. Terrible fathers. Aren't we all? So
Yeah. Only difference is that, you know, Dean didn't have to wait an eternity to figure that out.
It's a long time that Cass has been believing in God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Cass is like, maybe Joshua was lying. And they look at him and like, Sam's like, I don't think he was, Cass. Like, talking to him quietly like a child. And again, like, Dean's watching him, and I love this Cass. Do love this version of Cass. I do like the way Dad writes him, because he's like looking at the sky. He's like, "You son of a bitch! I believed in." And like, did he believe in God? Did he believe in the plan? Like, what was Cass going to say there? And Cass pulls out the amulet from his pocket.
I don't need this anymore. It's worthless.
Which, rude, but I understand his feelings. He's in it. And we know it's not worthless because it meant something to Dean, like the bond between him and Sam. Like, I felt that when he was saying it's worthless, so that hurt Dean slightly.
Yeah.
And so Cass goes and Sam's like, wait, but he's already disappeared, like flown off. And so Dean's kind of staring at this amulet in his hands, and Sam says, you know, we'll find another way. Like, we can still stop all of this. Like, the same speech they give each other, like, every now and then. We'll find another way. That should be their motto, by the way. Like, they say it so much.
Yeah.
But we'll find it. You and me. We'll find it.
Like, he's really emphasizing, like, we're in it together. But no, they broke Dean. I think they actually kind of succeeded here, because as he goes and, like, you know, he walks to the door. You will remember the shot, and he kind of looks at the amulet, like, lets it, like, kind of drop in his hand before, like, putting it in the bin. And it's just...
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so much in that action. Like, it's him discarding his faith, discarding his relationship with Sam almost. Like...
Absolutely.
It is... There's so much in that gesture, and he did it so deliberately so, like, Sam would see him do it. Oh.
But I also wonder if he's also stuck in the moment. So I don't know if he's really that cognizant of Sam watching him. It could just be that he's just so destitute that it is just like I give up. That was him. That's him saying I give up without saying I give up.
Absolutely. It's such a big moment. Like, they put so much emotional weight on that stupid amulet that was like just there as like a design choice, and then they're like, oh, let's make this important, and then let's make this devastating. Like, yeah.
I mean, it really is like, is this the second worst moment in Supernatural?
It's a pretty bad moment. Like, I felt it. Like, it was hard to watch. Like, Dean give up hope. Yeah.
Especially, I mean, to then contrast it with the like recap of young Dean saying, "Oh, I love it. Like, I'll never take it off," and then at the end of this episode being like, he has now made this treasure worthless.
Yeah. It sucks. Yep.
And all because his boyfriend said
yeah, exactly. God damn it, Cass. It's all your fault. I mean, it kind of is Cass's fault in this episode, because he was like, go find the garden and go find Joshua. And, like, they could have just got resurrected and like not remembered anything.
Yep.
Cass. Fine. I mean, obviously we're winding up now to the finale, right? So we've got to lose all hope before we can find it again.
Exactly. Yeah. It's this episode, like, I feel like had this episode been written by somebody else, then, or maybe it needed to be directed by somebody else, but it had moments in it where, like, had they played it slightly different, you could be a blubbering mess on the floor. It's already really emotionally charged, but I feel like there were maybe too many spots that you couldn't really connect everything that was going on. So some of the emotional beats didn't hit quite so hard. Like that last scene should have been more devastating the first time you see it.
I agree, not just on a rewatch. I feel like part of the problem is like the scene with Mary where she was really like laying into Dean was almost like too like cartoon villainish.
Yes. Yeah.
I know it's not like we're supposed to be. I think it's lit that way to like show us that it's not real or like not part of heaven. But it's just, it should have been. I don't know. I didn't like the way it was shot. The lighting was a choice, like you said, but I don't know. Like that could have been the emotional heart of that episode, and it wasn't. It felt weird and creepy.
Yeah, and the whole stuff with Zachariah and Mary didn't need to be in it either.
No, like.
And that's a dab thing as well.
I feel that's a dab thing. Yeah, it could have been so much more like nuanced, you know. We could have started like a normal scene and then like have her like slowly like lay into him, I think. And then Zachariah could have appeared and like punched them, you know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I would have rewritten that. I don't like it.
Yeah, like I honestly don't see the, you know, beyond the fact that it's like disturbing to see. Zachariah coming on to Mary doesn't do anything but make Sam and Dean angry at Zachariah. It doesn't, like, the stuff before that was what was really getting to Dean. The I never loved you, you were a burden, all of the like horrendous things that you should never say to somebody.
Exactly. And like they could have fully like laid into Sam too, like, you know, you got me killed, like it's your fault, you got me killed, because you'd know that he thinks that himself because the whole demon thing.
Exactly.
I don't know. Because they started her off with yellow eyes and then didn't really take it anywhere.
Yeah. Because she was never possessed by yellow eyes, so why would she have? It's like, I wonder, had it been John saying some of this stuff, whether it would have had some effect. Obviously not the making out part. That worked.
Hilarious. that would have been great. I would have liked to have seen. I think the reactions would have been identical. Yeah.
Yes. Traumatizing. It was a really good episode, but there were beats in it which could have hit harder if it was written and directed by somebody else. But it's still a really good episode.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed this episode, but yeah, all the things you said. I agree with you, basically.
So the next episode is 99 Problems. Yeah. All right, we'll see what happens. Yeah,
it's the Horror of Babylon. I remember this episode. This is the one that I thought was a fanfic, but isn't. I don't know why. I thought someone had written this as like a case fic. Maybe I read like a transcript for it once. I don't know. Or maybe someone did a fic that I read years ago that was based around this episode. Like, I don't remember. I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
But yeah, I'm excited for it. It's going to be good.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to talk about with this episode?
No, I think we've done it, and I'm definitely going to bring it up later on. I'm sure, like some other things from this, because I feel like the threads of this episode wind through Supernatural.
Yeah, and the fact that the series ends with the writer of this episode, you know, and it ends in heaven. There's gonna be, yeah, I know, right? It makes sense that there would be some threads and correlation. I think that's it. I think we're done. So at the end of the episode, we'd like to thank the Pixel Agora for his amazing logo art. And if you'd like to buy it on a coaster or something, we also have a Pride version for June, which is always up. It's not just for June, but it's always up. If you would like to purchase that, the proceeds from that will go to a LGBTQ charity to help our fellow people out there.
Happy Pride!
Happy Pride! And this is coming out after Pride, but we still love you. And if you want to come talk to us about this episode or any episode, was Pamela a plant? I think so. It would have been funnier if her name was like, I don't know,
Plantula.
Some version, yeah, some sort of plant-based name. You can find us all over social media: Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Escaping Purgatory Podcast or Escaping Podcast on Twitter. And we also have a YouTube channel, so you can see or not see the video, but hear us over static images.
Okay, so this week we followed the yellow brick road and found it just took us to a roundabout. So next week we're going to find our way out. Bye. The Americans aren't going to get that.
It's a traffic circle.
Bye.
Bye.
So dumb.
That was great.